The book I'm reading today is called A Fine Dessert. Um, 4 Centuries, 4 Families, One Delicious Treat by Emily Jenkins, illustrated by Sophie Blackhall. Now, this book is a little controversial because many people claim it shows slaves being happy because they're smiling in some of the pictures. Um, the author explained that she wanted to show that even during times of suffering, people can still find joy in little moments. Um, in reality, if enslaved people did get caught sneaking dessert like they do in this book, they were taking a huge risk. Punishments were very harsh, like getting beat, getting whipped, and often families wouldn't have been kept together like the mother and daughter in this book. Masters could split up families anytime they decided by selling their slaves. The illustrator actually apologized publicly. Um, so I'm going to let you decide what you think when we read this story, but I just wanted you to be aware of what the controversy was surrounding this book. Okay? Well, let's start. So you can see here it says a fine dessert, 4 centuries, 4 families, one delicious treat. So it starts out in 1710, then 1810, 1910, and 2010. Okay. A bit more than 300 years ago, in an English town called Lyme, a girl and her mother picked wild blackberries. Their hands turned purple with the juice. The thorns of the berry bushes pricked the fabric of their long skirts. When they got home, the women skimmed The woman skimmed the cream off the evening's milk. She added it to the cream from the morning's milk and began to beat it with a bundle of clean, soft twigs. Beat, beat, beat. Her arm began to ache. Beat, 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 beat. 15 minutes later, she stopped. Whipped cream. The girl drew water from the well. She put the berries in a piece of muslin and rinsed them. Then she squashed and strained them through the muslin, getting rid of the seeds. Together, she and her mother poured sugar on the fruit and then mixed it with the cream. You may lick the spoon, love, said the woman. So the girl did. Mmm. They carried the mixture to an ice pit in the hillside. It chilled near sheets of winter ice packed with reeds and straw. After the family supper, cold chicken, mushroom ketchup, and meat pie, they spooned the blackberry fool into blue dishes and served it to father and the older brothers. Even the baby had some. Mmm. Later, in the kitchen, the girl licked the bowl clean. What a fine dessert. Okay, so I want you to look at that picture. Look who's sitting around the table. What do you notice about the people? What do they look like? How are they dressed? Who is serving? Who is eating? Do you think they are a poor family or a wealthy family based on their home and the belongings that you can see in the picture? A bit more than 200 years ago, outside a city called Charleston, South Carolina, a girl and her mother picked blackberries from the plantation garden. So there's the plantation. A horse-drawn wagon delivered cream from a nearby dairy. The girl beat the cream with a metal whisk made by the local blacksmith. Beat, 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 beat. Her arm began to ache. Beat, beat. 10 minutes later, whipped cream. The girl washed the berries in water from the well. Then she smashed them through a tin sieve with the back of a spoon, getting rid of the seeds. Together, she and her mother poured sugar on the fruit and then mixed it with the cream. You may lick the spoon, child, the woman said. So the girl did. Mmm. They carried the mixture to a wooden box in the basement. It was stacked with blocks of ice, lined with lead, and insulated with cork. They put the bowl in. After waiting table at supper, where the master and his family ate turtle soup, roast turkey, corn cakes, and sweet potatoes, they spooned the blackberry fool into yellow dishes and served it. Later, the girl and her mother hid in the closet and licked the bowl clean together. Mmm, what a fine dessert. There they are in the closet. Okay, so again, I want you to look and see who is sitting around this table. What do you notice about the people? What do they look like? How are they dressed? Who is serving? Who is eating? Do you think they are a poor family based on their home and belongings? What is the little boy doing? Why? How do you think the people are feeling in these pictures? What do you think could have happened if the mother and daughter were caught licking the bowl clean? Do you think the slaves were happy? Okay, so I'm going to take a quick break from this story right now to read you a real story that actually happened in um, South Carolina. Okay. For about $300, a 9-year-old girl named Ashley was sold as a slave. Her mother, Rose, remained a house slave at a mansion in South Carolina. This was the 1850s, roughly a decade before Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation setting slaves free. Before mother and daughter were separated, Rose gave Ashley a cotton sack. It contained a tattered dress, 3 handfuls of pecans, and a lock of her hair. Rose told Ashley it was filled with love always. Ashley never saw her mom again, but she kept the sack. It was handed down through the generations along with her story to her granddaughter, Ruth Middleton. Ruth, a single mom in Philadelphia, stitched her family story into the cloth sack in 1921. So this is what that cloth sack looked like. And it says, "My great-grandmother Rose, mother of Ashley, gave her this sack when she was sold at age 9 in South Carolina. It held a tattered dress, 3 handfuls of pecans, a braid of Rose's hair. Told her it be filled with my love always. She never saw her again. Ashley is my grandmother. Ruth Middleton, 1921. So that's a more accurate story of what it would have been like for a mother and a little girl who were slaves in South Carolina. Okay, back to the story. A bit more than 100 years ago, in a city called Boston, Massachusetts, a girl and her mother bought 2 wooden boxes of blackberries at an open air market. So you can see the houses where they live there. When they got home, their morning's delivery of pasteurized cream was waiting at the door in pretty glass bottles. The woman looked at a recipe book. She beat the cream with cast iron rotary beaters. Whir, whir. 5 minutes later, whipped cream. The girl drew water from the new faucet in the kitchen. She washed the berries and smashed them through a sieve with her fingers. Her hands turned purple with the juice. Together, she and her mother poured sugar on the fruit and then mixed it with the cream. Do you want the spatula, my pet? Said the woman. Yes, please, said the girl, and licked it clean. Mmm. They carried the blackberry fool to a wooden ice box, stocked with blocks of ice they had delivered each day. After Sunday dinner, potato soup, roast chicken, and canned asparagus on toast, they spooned the fool into green dishes and ate it together, with father and younger brothers. Even the baby had some. Mmm. Back in the kitchen, the girl ran her tongue along the inside of the bowl. What a fine dessert. Okay, again, I want you to look at who's sitting around the table. What do you notice about the people? What do they look like? How are they dressed? Who is serving? Who is eating? Do you think they are a poor family or a wealthy family based on their home and their belongings? Now I'm going to show you some real images um, of Boston in 1910 that I found online. And I want you to think about how they compare with the images you saw in the book. Okay. So this is the market. So this is probably where a person living in Boston in 1910 would have done their shopping if they were buying from street vendors like the woman in the picture. Okay. We saw this. That's what it looked like in the book. And this was Newspaper Row. As you can see from the sign, that's where they made the newspaper in Boston in 1910. Looks pretty crowded. Okay. This was a picture I found of 2 children living in Boston in 1910. Look at the way they're dressed. Does it match with the characters you saw in our story? Okay. So in Boston in 1910, there were a lot of immigrant families. So if you remember, we have talked about immigrants before. Immigrants are people that come from another country to live in the United States. Okay. And often, when they got here, they would live in housing called tenements. So this is an actual picture of immigrant housing in Boston in 1910. This is the outside, okay? And this is the inside. of the house that you can see there's a mother and one, two, three, four children. And this is not just a room in their apartment. This is the whole thing. So they were all, there was only one bed. Um, Oftentimes in 1910, they would have had to go outside and share a bathroom with all of their neighbors. Um, I don't even see a sink with running water in this picture, so they might have also had to go get their water from outside. This is what's called a settlement house. And settlement houses were places that were set up to help immigrants when they got here, to help them find jobs, health care, those sorts of things. And this settlement house actually used to be Paul Revere's house. Okay. And one more. This is just a picture of a normal day in Boston in 1910. So, do you think that life was like this for everyone that lived in Boston after seeing the real images? Yeah, no, probably not. Okay. Just a couple years ago, in a city called San Diego, California, a boy and his dad bought 2 cardboard boxes of blackberries and a carton of pasteurized organic cream at the supermarket. When they got home, the man printed out a recipe from the internet. The boy beat the cream with an electric mixer. Zzz. 2 minutes later, whipped cream. It reminded the boy of shaving cream. Oh, of shaving foam. The man ran water in the sink and washed the berries in a colander. He crushed them in a food processor, then pushed them through a sieve with a plastic spatula. Together, they poured sugar on the fruit and then mixed it with the cream. "Can I lick the spatula?" asked the boy. "Course you can, buddy," said the man. So the boy did. Mmm. They put the mixture in the refrigerator. The doorbell rang, and friends surged in, bringing cartons of lemonade, grilled vegetables, enchiladas, and tomato salad. After a long, good dinner, the man and his son spooned the blackberry fool into white dishes and served it to their guests. Everyone gobbled it up, especially the babies. Mmm. After the guests went home, the boy stood in the messy kitchen licking the inside of the bowl. What a fine dessert! But the blackberry fool had been so very delicious, there wasn't much left. So again, I want you to look at this picture. Look who's sitting around the table. What do you notice about the people? What do they look like? How are they dressed? Who is serving? Who is eating? Do you think they are poor or wealthy based on their home and belongings? Okay, and here is a picture, a fine dessert, and the recipe for blackberry fool. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed our story, and as we finish up, I want to ask you a couple questions. So first, do you think it's important to learn about families in our past? Why? Or why not? What does our past have to do with our present? And finally, I want you to think about what action could you take to learn about your family history?